and play. So let's just put that one to the side for the moment. Clippers with the lead, and Kawhi Leonard just took the game over in the third quarter.
Well, yeah, you see this assist here. He's just making the right play. He's actually directing traffic. Shaman is a great shooter. And so, look, he's just taking his time, picking his spots, making all the right plays. And they shot 60, I think 7% from the field. That's just unheard of.
Yeah, and so Golden State's defense contributing to that at least a little. So Kawhi had 9 assists, and then he's making tough shots. You see him there on the mid-range jumper. And then watch, this is unfair. How does that go in? Kawhi would score 21 points, 9 assists, 5 boards, playing just 21 minutes of this game. And it was a wire-to-wire win as the Warriors give up the most points they have ever in the Steve Kerr era, 141 to 122. The Clippers, a decisive win.
And this is not, not a one-off. This is the reality. There's going to be nights like this year, so you got to play through it, and you got to keep fighting and keep getting better. Losing stinks. It's no fun, but the last 5 years we've been living in a world that isn't supposed to exist.
I'm not a moral victory type of guy. I'm not leaving this game looking for something to build off on. We sucked, and we got to get better. I'm not a coach, so I'm not about to go watch a film and say, oh, well, we can build on this. I really don't give a damn about what we can build on. We sucked tonight, and we got to get better overall.
So it was a very rough night for the Clippers, for the Warriors. They didn't hold the lead at any point in this game. I don't even want to talk about the Clippers. They're great, and they're playing without Paul George. But the Warriors are a team that we've seen in the NBA Finals 5 consecutive seasons. We knew they were going to take a step back. This looked like a very big step last night.
Yeah, and Charles Barkley said it. He said it directly to Klay Thompson, just like, hey, I thought you guys had a chance for a 6-7 seed. After watching your team, I don't think you guys are going to make the postseason. And Klay was, visibly bothered by that. But it's like the more you watch this team, they don't have enough, and they're in the toughest conference with teams that got better. Utah got better. Portland, Lakers are better. There's so many teams that are so talented, and they just don't have enough right now. And this is because Klay Thompson is not playing. If Klay Thompson was playing, then they would have a chance at home court. But he's not going to be playing all year, and this is just not enough to, with all the firepower out there, they're shorthanded.
This game was very late last night, so I'm assuming if you're up early watching with us, maybe you didn't see it last night. They have so many young guys who don't seem even remotely familiar to you. This is a team that we've been watching so much, but it has turned over substantially there.
Yeah, and we've talked about, Andre Iguodala. We've talked about Livingston. There's so many guys that they're missing, but these were veterans that were in this position, that were making plays, and these players will get better over the course of the season. These young players are talented, but when you're pairing them with Steph, Klay, and Draymond, and this is the part where, not that you feel sad, but you have 3 guys that are in the prime of their career with Klay Thompson, being out. If those guys were healthy, this team would be, solid, but they will still not be the dominant team they've been the last 4 or 5 years.
This is going to be a season of stepping back for them. Now, they may very well roar back. They might be able to flip D'Angelo Russell at some point into another player who fits better with what they do when they get Klay back. But for this season, it did look, at least last night, that that's a team that's going to struggle to make the playoffs. Now let's talk about some other teams that played last night. The last 3 MVPs in the league on the floor at the same time. 2 of them in Houston uniforms. Harden, Westbrook, Giannis on the floor. Milwaukee and Houston. And early on, you're seeing a bunch of firsts. That's a first bucket of the year for the Rockets, and then the first bucket for Westbrook as a Rocket.
Yeah, and Russ is going to have a good season. I think both of these guys are going to be all NBA players. I think they're going to both be all-stars. I don't think any of that's going to change, but it's just figuring out a way to come together and make it seamless, and they're already having conversations early in the game.
Now, and early in the game, they look great. This is a team that would run out, and I mean literally run to a 16-point lead. Westbrook, one of his 16 rebounds, dishing for Gordon in the corner.
Yeah, and they were amazing in the first half. This is what they're going to be. They're going to have big leads. They're going to blow leads. That's just who the Rockets are going to be. It's going to be live by the sword, die by the sword. They shot 27% in the second half. That was one of the reasons why they lost. James Harden is going to make enough shots. He's going to create. He's going to make shots for guys, or he's going to put people in a great position to score. It just won't be enough at the end of the season.
Harden and Westbrook assisted or scored 55 of Houston's 66 in the first half. But then here comes Giannis playing defense in the third quarter.
And that's how you become the MVP, when you impact things on both ends of the floor. Just a relentless pursuit of the ball.
And then he's bringing them back. They're down 16. Now they're down 13 off of his 3. And then it's an 8-point game. And look at the draw. Oh, look at him take it to the hole. Giannis, 12 points in the third. third. Bucks are within 9 going to the fourth. Here we go. Bucks pushing it. Tell me how you stopping this.
You can't stop this. This is why he was the MVP. He just has length. He has footwork. He has everything that you need. You have a 6'11" guy doing spin moves and just laying it in the hoop.
It's a 7-point game at that point. Now the Rockets lead is only 2, and they're pushing, and Russell's going to give you moments like this.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting when we're critical of the Rockets. It's not that they won't be exciting. It's not that they're not going to win games and have highlight plays like this, Harden to Brody. But what they will do is they will struggle like they did in the second half.
They're going to be fun to watch, but are they going to win games? A minute later, Bucks are down by 2. Not anymore. Chris Middleton drilling a big 3. The Bucks take the lead. Rockets now down 3. Harden wants the shot, wants the foul. Not going to get either. By the way, that was his first shot attempt of the fourth quarter. Rockets down 3. Bucks lead is 6 now, and here comes Giannis, going to foul out of the game right here. Giannis Antetokounmpo fouling out with a triple-double, 30 points, 13 boards, 11 assists. Can the Rockets take advantage? Westbrook for 3, he would score 24, 16 rebounds. It's a 2-point game, but when Milwaukee needed a bucket, they found it from their role players. Wesley Matthews.
And it's like, look, it was a great pass by Brook, and then just ball movement, and Wesley Matthews is a knockdown shooter.
Harden then no good. Harden 2 of 13, 19 points on the night. They lose Giannis in the fourth quarter, but hold on to win. Milwaukee, a statement win by 6 in the opener. Coming up, and the Vikings taking on his former team, the Washington team. Late second quarter, game tied at 6. Vikes ball, 1st and 10 from their own 39. And Dalvin Cook, an MVP season continues.
Just check it down to him and let him do the work. The most dynamic player on the field, making guys miss an explosive game.
The 31-yard gain, he ran 68 yards to do it. A few plays later, 3rd and goal from the 4. Do you throw it? No, you don't. You give it back to Dalvin Cook.
I don't know if anyone else is running the football on 3rd and 4 from the 4, but you know what? Mike Zimmer is, and it paid off.
It's his 9th touchdown of the season. Vikings a 7-point halftime lead. Now, Vikes ball at their own 10-yard line, 3rd and 9, throwing it up, Stephon Diggs.
This is all Diggs wanted earlier in the year, Greeny. If you're going to throw it up to me, at least put it in an area I can catch it. Nice ball, Kirk Cousins.
Diggs had 7 catches, 143 yards on the night. 3 straight games of at least 140 receiving yards for Stephon Diggs. Now, another storyline. Dwayne Haskins in with Case Keenum out with a concussion, and early, here's a nice little throw here to the running back.
Oh, take the check down early on, looks there, nice little arm throw, squeezes it in, let Peterson do the rest of the work for a little gain for you.
Yes, the running back is Adrian Peterson, who obviously was a legendary Viking, but that's not the purpose of this discussion. This is Haskins. Oh, he didn't see that coming.
Yeah, they bring the linebacker, he's unblocked, and you either have to know it and get rid of the football or adjust the protection. He does neither. Rookie mistake.
Okay, so now let's get to an interesting moment in the game. This is still very much a game in the third quarter. Mike Zimmer, generally known as a fairly conservative coach, but on a 4th and 1 inside his own 40-yard line, they're going to go for it.
Oh, when your mantra's run the football, you think you could get a yard. They don't get it there. No offensive line push. This is something that could come back to haunt them later in the season if they can't pick up short yardage.
Could have come back to haunt them last night, but Dwayne Haskins was not able to take advantage. Here's the pick that he threw.
He gives it right back. He knows where to go with the football, just a little high right there to Terry McLaurin.
3 of 5, 33 yards and a pick for Haskins. Not the prettiest night for the Vikings, but a win is a win, especially on Thursday nights in the NFL, and they get it to go to 6-2, 19-9 Minnesota.
We're 6-2. I think we've got everything in front of us, and we got to go out and prove it the second half of the season. But we've put ourselves in a position now where the second half of the season is going to be there for the taking, and so that's a really good thing.
I hate losing. I feel like I played a part in that, and it's tough, but it's only year 1 for me. Got a lot of years left, and this is all a learning experience.
I tell you what, it's been tough to watch the Skins play football, but at least the city of Washington has the Nationals. This month alone, the Nats have outscored the Skins by 29 points, and they have 1 fewer loss than the football team in town. Oh, look at the faces. These guys, Hembo, they're offended. The football players are offended.
That's just wrong, Hembo.
Let's talk about them, because this is an historical franchise, right? They go back basically to the inception of the National Football League, and they're terrible. At 1-7, this is as bad a start as they've been off to in a generation. There's so many questions about the ownership group, so many questions about the leadership, and questions about the quarterback they drafted. Is this going to be a desirable coaching job? They have fired the coach. They're moving on. Is this a job that a lot of people are going to want?
No, not at all. The culture at Washington.
No. They have a great culture.
What's a great
They have
culture?
a great culture.
Bruce Allen said it was a great culture.
The great culture.
No, we're living in reality here. In the real world, the culture is terrible. And that's why you wouldn't want to go there as a head coach, because you never want to be undermined by the Bruce Allens of the world and Dan Snyder's of the world, because your players, if they don't want to buy in, they just go right around and circumvent you.
It's what value do you place on Haskins? How much are you in love with him as a head coach or coordinator? And then what are you willing to put up with from ownership? Do you want full control? Maybe that's not the place you want to go as a head coach if you want full control, like Pete Carroll, like Bill Belichick. That might not be the spot for you.
Look, the obvious reality is there are only 32 of these jobs. There will be lots of people who want them. What I'm talking about is coaches who have options. Is this an option they're going to find attractive? That guy on your screen right there could be the reason. And I'm looking at you, Bobby Carpenter, who hosts a talk show in Columbus and the pride of Ohio State, maybe the most beloved Buckeye of all time.
Yeah.
You thought I love Dak?
If
Watch
Ryan
this.
Day is a guy who at some point is interested in making a jump to the NFL, would he want to go with his former quarterback?
I think he likes his quarterback, but college coaches love autonomy. And so they don't want to be sit there and have stuff crammed down on them. Plus, player selection. You have to look at this roster, Greeny. Like outside of Dwayne Haskins, like Trent Williams is really good. He's not playing. Your best player right now on offense is a 34-year-old running back. Granted, he's a Hall of Famer, but it's not like, hey, we're going to build around this guy for the future. That is the problem that coaches are going to look at this and face. Say, they haven't won. There's no one really there to win with outside of maybe a good young quarterback.
So let me spin it then to the other side of this. The Vikings win. They're 6-2. It was not the most exciting game of all time, but as we look at the big boys of the NFC, we all like Green Bay a lot. We all like New Orleans a lot. San Francisco is unbeaten. Where does Minnesota fit into this conversation?
Wild card. They can compete. Don't get me wrong. If Green Bay slips up, they can compete and win the division. They're not going to win the division as long as Green Bay keeps playing the way that they're playing. So they're a wild card team right now, looking at number 5 in the wild card.
I think it's them and Detroit for the wild card as it stands right now. I mean, the Bears are going to have
Detroit
a serious,
to win a wild card?
Lions or Minnesota for the wild card out of the North.
Without the Bears?
Wins it. What do you mean without the Bears?
So the Bears are better than Detroit.
I don't know about that.
Better record. I don't think they're better than the.
I don't know.
That's the problem.
I don't know.
Wow, okay.
Are the Vikings a playoff team?
Yeah,
Good teams are getting left out.
Vikings are in the playoffs. They'll probably be a wild card team with 11
At
wins.
best, but I'm
That's
saying
the
it's
problem.
them and Detroit fighting for that wild card. I know the Bears are better on paper right now, but that defense is going to have to play real well, and Mitch is going to have to get healthy.
Take a look out west. Seattle's getting one. San Francisco's getting
San Francisco's in.
And
The Rams.
Saints.
The Rams are probably out. Saints are in. Dallas. I mean, there it is.
There are a lot
tight.
of really good teams in the NFC. Some of them are going to wind up getting left out when it's all said and done. Meanwhile, the AFC is an entirely different story. Let's talk about that. New England, Cleveland this weekend in a game that will grab all of our attention. The Browns in Foxborough off their bye. Jarvis Landry seemed to be feeling pretty good about going up against the undefeated Patriots. Here's what he said.
Well, we're going to win. We're going to win. I think it's just that simple. We getting guys back healthy again, and we're going to win.
All right, now, soon after he made that statement, Landry wanted to make very sure to clarify he was not guaranteeing a victory and meant only to say that we're going there to win, with the game being in Foxborough. So, all right, that is what it is. Speaking of that, let's go to Foxborough, where Mike Reese is standing by. Mike, how did Jarvis Landry's quote, whatever it is he meant to say, play out in New England?
Well, Greeny, you probably won't be surprised. Bill Belichick, he doesn't miss too many tricks. I'm told he did address this with his players, but maybe not necessarily in the way you would expect. A player told me that the context of how Belichick referenced this to his players was that, look, there's a lot of noise out there, and regardless of what he said or how he said it, we shouldn't get involved. Belichick wants to focus on the game. Reporters go into the locker room shortly after that. We ask the players, and they sort of deflect it and say, no, not a big deal. This isn't bulletin board material for us.
And there's literally nothing the Browns do that Bill Belichick would allow his team to do. So that's a whole other discussion. But let's go to this one here, because there's been a lot of talk all over the place, including here in the last few days, about Tom Brady's future, following some perspective that was shared by Adam Schefter. And that's all Schefter was giving us were some thoughts. What, if any, has been the reaction by the Patriots and their players?
Well, you know, there hasn't been really any buzz, Greeny, in the locker room about that, and it's not a huge surprise. This is a very hard, grinding environment that Bill Belichick has, and he sets the tone. He basically says, if it's not about the next opponent, in this case the Cleveland Browns, it's not important. And so, really, no one's talking about it at all, quite frankly.
As someone who has covered the team as long as you have, what have been your observations of Brady this year?
Well, I just want to relay this, Greeny. They won Monday night in New York. They get back to the facility at 3:30 or so in the morning. Tom Brady's rolling back in here in the 10 o'clock hour for his regular Tuesday meetings. And to me, that's reflective of his short-term mindset of being all in. I mean, he is invested in this season. But, Greeny, it's been a hard season for him. There's been a lot of instability around him on offense. And I think as it relates to this topic that we're talking about, his mindset is all about the short term. All in, invest, and let the long-term, big picture, future stuff take care of itself in time.
Now, look, when you're 42 years old, I suppose it's easy to approach it that way. Mike Reese, so well done. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Meanwhile, I want to bring it out here and shift our attention to the Browns. I made sort of a joke there, but I think it's reality. Like, everything the Browns do is something Bill Belichick would cut you for, including Wednesday, Baker Mayfield was asked about being fined for criticizing officials from the Browns' loss to the Seahawks that came 2 weeks ago. He said this.
No, I knew I was going to get fined, but it needs to be said. People have to be held accountable for their job. When it affects my job, it sucks because it's not in my control.